Okay, I'm delighted to be joined in the Downtown Den by Kim Leary. And Kim has recently been appointed as the new chair of Downtown and Business Birmingham, which we're delighted. And Kim, welcome.
Thank you. No, thank you. It's a really exciting place to be, especially in Birmingham. There's so much going on.
Yeah, well, I want to turn into that in a second in terms of, you know, how we see the next 12 months developing, because it's been a challenging year for anyone who's been involved in business. But first of all, tell people about your background, what your business is, what you're involved in, because, you know, you've always been active in the wider business community, which is, of course, one of the reasons we were keen to engage your services as our new chair.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't start off thinking I was going to go into business. It just kind of happened. And I think it's definitely the right place for me to be. But certainly when I left university, I didn't think I'm going to go and set up an agency. This is where I'm going to kind of go. But, you know, these things happen. I think certainly since graduating, just building up resilience and kind of, learning how to handle people and learning that really a network is vital. Left university thinking I know everything. I'm going to go into a world of, high-paying jobs, and quickly kind of realised that that was definitely not the case. Very quickly learned it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so, entered into the world of business in 2010, very much wanting to build my portfolio, kind of get a range of different pieces of work, because I was quite limited to the experience that I'd had. So that kind of kicked off my freelancing career, but I didn't ever see myself as a freelancer. It was weird. I always anticipated that it would be a business. So whether it was just me and I was a freelancer, the kind of brand that I created was a business. And then I think 2015 or 2013 moved from Tamworth to Birmingham, because I just could see that Birmingham had got more opportunity. There was a lot more going on. There was a lot more networking, more events. So moved everything, moved house, moved the business, and haven't really looked back since, to be honest. So that's kind of, how I entered into the world. And people always say, how did you take that leap of faith? Why did you do it? I think for me, I was younger. I didn't have responsibility. So it felt like an easier step.
Yeah, that risk-taking becomes more difficult and challenging as you get older. I speak through experience, but nonetheless, you know, the entrepreneurs that I meet, they don't even see these things as a risk very often, because they've got so much faith and confidence in their own ability.
Yeah.
The idea that, you know, one day they're going to wake up and lose it all is like just fantasy. You know, it's never going to happen. And, you know, you and I have obviously got to know each other over the last few years. And you strike me as being somebody who's rightly extremely confident in their own ability to deliver. And so why not? You know, why not have a go? And I say to anyone now who is thinking about going into the business, have a go, because if you don't do it, you're going to have those regrets. And I'll bet you wouldn't go back and do it any other way now, would you?
I don't know if I'd be employable. I think that's the problem now. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I think, you know, as leaders, we've still got a massive responsibility to make sure that we don't abuse our positions. And for me, you know, enjoying who we work with is a massive part of it. In my limited corporate world, I didn't want to feel like a number, and I think that kind of for me was certainly why I took the strides out to do something by myself. But you know, I mean, that was 10 kind of more so years ago, and I think a lot's changed since then. A lot more businesses are focusing on their purpose, their reason, and their why, which is obviously a lot of kind of where everybody, so why you get out of bed. It's a massive question, and it's hard to always answer. But yeah, I think it's certainly one that I've given a lot of thought to.
Yeah. Tell us about Squibble then.
Yeah, so Squibble is a branding and web design agency. We have always focused on design. Design's at the core of what we do. So I think typically businesses that come to us have been in business for a number of years. Friend of a friend might have designed their logo or their website, and it just doesn't really fit anymore. They've probably gone through growth. They're probably a few years old. And they look at their branding, they look at their website, and they're embarrassed. That's the kinds of businesses that we tend to work with. And for us, it's the most exciting. You know, we can take an initial idea and we can build on it, and we can enable the company to kind of feel professional again and feel like they've really put a mark in their sector. So I think that's what we enjoy doing the most.
Yeah. And listen, I would say this, wouldn't I? But it's a fantastic agency that you've built there, and what a great strapline, saving you from your embarrassment. I think that one. It's an accurate reflection of what many businesses get into. Let's face it. You know, when you first started out, one of the last things that you've got the money to invest in is good, strong branding. But then it's one of the first things that you want to do when you do start to get a bit of success and you get some money to invest in the business, because it's your shop window, isn't it? Your website and your design and your brand. You know, we all, I think these days, get a connection, get recommended somebody, and the first thing you do is you Google them, don't you? So if you go onto a website and it's crap, then that first impression really counts, and that's where you guys come into your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and particularly during COVID, you know, we don't have the ability to kind of build those relationships has been massively reduced. So people do go on Google. And I think it's difficult because sometimes branding can be seen as a cost, and it's, unless you can show the impact that it has, people don't necessarily respect it. So it plays a huge part, and we all do it. It's like reviews. You know, we always look at reviews for businesses, but do we think about our own? Not always.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, when I first set the business up, and I think this is because of my political background and being involved in campaigns, and the Labour Party actually having to transform its image to become, you know, going from a basket case in the early 80s to go into something that was electable. We're back in the basket case or half basket case now with the Labour Party. But the importance of branding, perception, how you place yourself in the market was always something I was very aware of. And so we've always actually seen spending money on good website, good design. And of course, we have our own internal communications team now. It's not, I don't see it as a cost. I see it as an investment, Kim.
Massively. Yeah, absolutely. But it's different mindsets, I think. And it can get obsessive and it's never finished. That's the problem. It always has to be revised. Things are always changing. Moods change, messaging should change. It's continually evolving. You can't create something and then just let it sit there. It's not a piece of artwork at the end of the day. It's a brand. And there is a difference. So
I think it was somebody who had a web agency said to me one time that, you know, if you were going past your high street fashion outfit, so let's say what's one that's still open, Ted Baker, okay, which is a particular favourite of mine, and every time you went past the shop window, it was the same clothes, it was the same mannequins dressed in exactly the same things. You soon switch off. And you know, this guy said to me, that's what you've got to view your website as. It's your shop window. So if every time somebody clicks on, it's just the same static thing there, then, you know, inevitably it's going to become outdated and it's going to turn people off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're our own worst enemies as well, to be honest, because for us, our website is our shop window. So it does get redesigned every 12 months, and we're nearly there now with the next redesign. So yeah, it's exciting. But, you know, we have to kind of show that we do as we kind of say as well. So
yeah, hey, listen, you've got to live and breathe it, haven't you, if you're preaching it? So, okay, so you've obviously set your own business up. And, you know, again, nobody's more aware of how difficult that is in the early days than I am. It can be a slog for the first 3 or 4 years before you start to develop a client base. You start to get a bit of a team around you. But you've always been somebody who's looked beyond your own business. You know, I met you at the launch of Downtown in Business Birmingham. So clearly, you've always had an eye on what's happening around you, of getting engaged and involved with the right people to grow your business. And of course, you set up this fantastic digital conference initiative, didn't you, in Birmingham? Is that 2 years ago now? I'm losing track of time. Was it 2019?
Yes.
Yeah. How did that come about, and sort of what motivated you to get involved in that?
So I wasn't involved in the original discussions. That was Mark and Yanis. They'd had a conversation because they could see that there was loads of kind of different organisations, different teams, different groups of people, all having separate conversations, and there wasn't necessarily a strong united front. And it's difficult to say that because there are obviously lots of organisations that do exist that kind of work on collaboration, but they tend to be either very focused on the developer community and not necessarily on both the business leaders and the developers. So it was about being able to bring forward the business leaders and kind of give the businesses of Birmingham a spotlight because the tech in Birmingham is not as well established and is not as well known, but there are a huge amount going on. I mean, the kind of companies that are working in Birmingham and what they're achieving is really exciting. But where do you go to find out about it? You know, yeah. Where do you look? There isn't a central hub that's focused solely on Birmingham. I mean, Birmingham has got a lot to offer, but because it's not very good at shouting about what we do, it just gets hidden. So Birmingham Tech Week was set up to celebrate the tech that kind of takes place in Birmingham, to celebrate the businesses, the people, to inspire the next generation, to inspire people into tech, and then obviously to collaborate. So to get cross-sector collaboration and to get more people working together. At the end of the day, it's a common goal. And so we want to make sure that everybody can kind of support each other in a collaborative way to move forwards. So that was the idea behind it. And I got involved in July time, I think. Bearing in mind, it was October. So it was, 3-4 months. And my remit really was to focus on the brands. And I was party to a conversation, probably June time, where they were discussing the ideas, and it was kind of put to me as a fringe, like a Scottish Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Lots of different things taking place at different bars and just really good fun. And I was like, I love this. I like this idea. But I could see that because there was so many different people involved and so many different ideas, to kind of get that message out there would be really difficult. And especially when you've got loads of different voices. So my initial focus and my kind of initial conversation was, you need some key messaging, you need some brand guidelines effectively, like what is everybody saying, what's the point of it? We've all got to have the same message. So that was my kind of first involvement, and I put that to the board at the time, which they greatly received and swiftly asked me to join. So we delivered the first Birmingham Tech Week in 3 months and set the bar really high, because then it's like, look what you can do in 3 months, what can you do in 12? But unfortunately, COVID's put a dampener on our kind of real life events, but we held it virtually. And the uptake was just absolutely incredible. There was such an appetite for it, because we even questioned whether or not we should do it. Do people want to attend a virtual event? But they did, and the content was just so strong. The conversation that came off the back of it was brilliant. And since then, it's enabled us to develop a hub of content, and to continue, you know, shining the spotlight. So we're getting noticed now by London Tech Week. So obviously they're huge in London, starting to have more and more conversations with people outside of Birmingham, which is what we need. You know, we all in Birmingham know what we're good at, what we can do, but we need the investors from the outside looking in and saying, right, I'm a company, or I want to see what they're doing in this sector in AI, or it's just kind of providing that presence, really. So that's the main focus for it. And obviously at the moment we're in the middle of doing interviews for an accelerator. So we're putting 10 Birmingham-based businesses, tech companies, through an accelerator, with a view to, obviously help them grow and achieve funding if that's what they're looking for, or kind of whatever their goals are, working towards accelerating their businesses. So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
A great initiative, I have to say, and Tech Week London, as you say, is massive, and there's no reason why Birmingham can't match that. So we sort of got slightly involved in the periphery of Tech Week. We did an event alongside you guys, which was really fascinating. And the story that stills with me is when the fridges are going to start telling us we've run out of a particular food stuff or bottle of milk or whatever it might be. It's frightening at one level, but when you look at what we've been through over the last 12 months, I think we can on anything in the future. And obviously, the leadership position that you took within that. And, you know, the thing that we've always managed to do at Downtown in Business is not just refresh our marketing materials, but refresh the ideas and refresh the people that are alongside us. So we want young, talented entrepreneurs who have different experiences. So I've always said I never want Downtown to be a business network which for the and you see who sit on local enterprise partnership boards or growth companies. We want them involved, but actually they're the sort of people who need to be influenced by people like you, because on a day-to-day basis, you're at the coalface. You're going through the journey that they've been on and been successful on. And it's very easy to get into a comfort zone and forget about all those difficulties and challenges. So once, Kim, you and I are going to start to push the envelope a little bit, challenge people, cajole people. And the first thing I want to pick up on is a comment that you've just made, which I totally agree with and totally get, being a sort of, I suppose an adopted brummie, I hope, because I've, as you know, fallen in love with the place. You know, the thing I have most about lockdown is it's out in the city, because it's friendly. Birmingham, and we've got to find a way of just getting that messaging out better. We've got to become more robust about telling the world, the rest of the world.
I have, and I think this has been one of my bugbears for a long time. I think it's our own responsibility to so much that's changed so much. It's a proper grown-up city. It's got a huge ecosystem. It's got fabulous people. And I think we need to stamp out. I mean, I think social media can play a damaging part in that as well. And I think that there needs to be more people that stand up for the city. I think Loughborough have done a brilliant job of that. I think they're playing a huge part in celebrating the good that goes on in Birmingham. And I think it's, you know, initiatives like that work well. But largely, I think it's responsibility of us as individuals to really shout about, promote and support the city, and to not be that person that's criticising or speaking ill of it, really.
Yeah. I mean, from our perspective, you know, and we do this in any city that we operate in, we always say to the powers that be, you know, the decision makers within the public sector agencies, we're a critical friend. We're not going to agree with everything you do, but equally, it's no good just being whingers and moaners from the sidelines. You've got to come up with creative, constructive, positive solutions to any difficulties that you identify. And I think that we're a long way off from this, really, in terms of Birmingham, but it's not where we need to be, in my opinion. And, you know, I'm a Scouser, so people can take this or not. But one of the things that Manchester and Liverpool and Leeds have all done is they've positioned the city brand right at the heart of their regions. And so when you're in MIPIM, the International Property Festival, or when you go to Munich for their Festival of Business, you go to a stand that says Manchester, or you go to a stand that says Leeds or Liverpool. When you go to the Birmingham stand, it's badged West Midlands. And I haven't met anyone on the planet yet who knows what the West Midlands is. And it's a bugbear of mine. And as I say, listen, I'm a Scouser, what do I know? But is that a frustration that you and fellow Brummies share, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing argument. We've had discussions for Birmingham Tech Week as to whether or not we should drop Birmingham, but Birmingham's exactly. So we've said no. I mean, Birmingham Tech Week obviously is a West Midlands initiative as well, but it's born out of Birmingham, and that's the way it's going to stay. I have so many discussions about this, and I think it's a particularly hot topic at networking events because you can kind of get a feel for where people sit, and it gets arguments going and conversation started. But ultimately, I can't remember what it was for now, but we did something a few years back, a survey effectively. What would you? And we asked international people, what if we were to say West Midlands? Do you know what it means? Birmingham was the winner, but it's still about this collaborative approach, and I understand it. Don't necessarily agree with it either.
Listen, you know, nobody's pretending that you want to put a wall around Birmingham and forget about the rest of the region. But when you are trying to market yourself at either a national or an international level, you've got to have an attack brand, and it's got to be strong. And so for me, you know, we had this nonsense of a badge called Merseyside for years. Yeah. And up the road, you've got Greater Manchester. And Manchester usually drop the greater, to be honest. It's just Manchester. And so we were lumbered with this Merseyside badge. And again, you go anywhere in the world and say to people you're from Merseyside, they go, where? What does that mean? And so, you know, it's not about lack of collaboration. It's not about not working in partnership with people. It's not actually saying to your other big cities, your Coventrys, your Wolverhamptons and your big towns, well, you've just got to stay quiet. It's about them piggybacking on the success of an attack brand. And for me in the Midlands, and I would say actually the Midlands, never mind just the West Midlands, it's Birmingham. That's where people know. That's the city, that's the brand. And as I say, for me, I can't get my head around why, you know, people in your part of the world aren't sort of backing that and saying, yeah, let's go for it. Maybe that's something we need to do. Yeah, we need to.
Absolutely. I think there are, but there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah. Oh, well, there always is. There always is. But the fact of the matter is, we're right.
Yeah.
There might be two sides to the argument. There's always at least two sides to an argument. But on this one, I'm telling you, my experience, as I say, right across the north of England, you know, you wouldn't go to Glasgow, would you, and say, you've got to start marketing yourself as Glasgow, Edinburgh, or something. You know, so we're a strong city brand. And I just think, sorry for getting on me hobby horse about this, but I just think that we, you know, as part of shouting louder about what we do, we've got to be confident enough to say we should be the attack brand that represents the Midlands. Let's see where that debate goes over the coming year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And so listen, talking about Birmingham, the brand, we've got the Commonwealth Games. And, you know, it was going to be a challenge to host those games anyway, because we had a very short time scale to get everything organised. And then COVID's hit. So that makes the challenge even harder. But a great launch this week, I thought, of the mascot. Absolutely love it. What did you think of that?
Yeah, do you know, it's been really, really well received. I've seen him photoshopped into all sorts of businesses and locations. Really vibrant, really colourful. And I think, yeah, definitely can't wait for the cuddly toys to arrive, and the, yeah, kind of the merchandise, which is being produced by a Birmingham company as well, which is, yeah, really promising. So no, I think certainly from Birmingham and seeing the comments on social media, it's been greatly received. Yeah.
Well, you know, listen, the success of these things is how noticed it gets and the profile it gets. And it's certainly caught the attention of everyone in the north, because obviously I'm stuck in the north at the moment. And I was in Manchester yesterday and people were talking about it. Being in Liverpool today, people are talking about it. So it's hit the mark in that respect. And I a bit of fun as well, a little bit of cheekiness about the whole thing. So no, I absolutely loved it. So as I say, listen, we got a number of things that we're going to discuss over the next 12 months once we get back to our live events program. And one of our early guests, I'm delighted to say, is Jess Phillips, who is, if nothing else, an outspoken individual who I'm sure will have something to say about the branding issue, but lots more as well. And then we're doing our first National Property Conference in September at the Belfry. So we're really looking forward to that. We've got some great Birmingham property companies involved in the conference already. And of course, an event that I know you and I are very much looking forward to, the City of Birmingham Business Awards. And as a former winner, perhaps you'll just reflect on the experience of what that night's like.
You know, it was incredible. There's no escaping it. It was the amalgamation of a real brand story for us. We changed our business name based on I didn't think as Kimberly Jane Design we would ever be featured in the Black Book that the Downtown in Business crew produced, and off the back of that changed our name. So and it was kind of, I think that was 2015-16. We won the award in 2017. It was just like a kind of a dream story, and I love the atmosphere. It was really, really exciting. The after party, of course, couldn't miss it. But just a really good crowd, you know. It's just, I think it's one of the things that I've really missed. Award season, October comes, and you know, it's just party after party, and you kind of want that back a bit.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of our early ones, and it is about, of course, having a good time, but it's also about that serious aspect of celebrating business. Yeah. And you were saying earlier in the conversation, one of the motivations about Birmingham Tech Week is to actually celebrate the people in that industry sector. And of course, what COBBA enables us to do is just get some great business leaders in the room, some great entrepreneurs, some people who yet have had a tough 12 months. But for that night, a recognition, an acknowledgement of what a great job those guys have done.
Yeah, I think it's a true representation of Birmingham. You know, you've got businesses of all size and people from all backgrounds. And so from that point of view, it's just good fun, and it is about celebrating, definitely, and it's a lovely atmosphere. I think it's certainly. I use the photographs all the time, to be honest, because they capture a moment.
Yeah, for sure. Kim, you and I are going to be getting together in the not too distant future. The restrictions are starting to be relaxed, so I can escape and get up to Birmingham, or get down to Birmingham, I should say. Really looking forward to working with you over the next 12 months. Is there a message that you'd like to give to the Birmingham business community in terms of what you're hoping we can support and help them with over the next 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think networking has been hit hard. There's no escaping it. I think Downtown have done a really good job of taking what we used to do traditionally and kind of creating that conversation online, which is hard to do. And I know that Widen Down Wednesdays has been a massive success. People really valued the ability to come and have a conversation, see normal faces, you know, see faces that you used to see. It's the familiarity of it. And I know that was really well received. And certainly from my point of view over the summer, it was something nice to look forward to, and kind of, yeah, nice to be able to have that conversation. And I think that's certainly where Birmingham DIB's got, certainly moved to next, is continuing that conversation, continuing the support, and providing, you know, connections, sharing, being able to be that kind of point of contact, and again, promoting what Birmingham's doing. There's so many businesses in Birmingham, particularly within the DIB membership, where everybody is still doing successful things, even though COVID has obviously had an impact. There's still companies hiring. There's still new projects being won. There's still lots to celebrate. And I think we have to focus on what's going well, because we can't focus on the doom and gloom all the time. You know, we've got to have a positive attitude. We're going to be coming out of this. We've got to look forward. We've got to look at how we can continue to network and build those relationships in a city that's going to be very different when we go back. There's going to be more businesses, because there's a lot of people that have started, you know, and kind of started on the entrepreneurial journey with startup companies. So it's going to be a different place, but I think we have to stay positive.
Absolutely. Glass half full, as always, Kim.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to working with you for the next year on, as you say, what's going to be a really exciting time for Birmingham and for downtown. So thanks for joining me in the Downtown Den, and I'll see you again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. And thank you again for asking me to be chair. It's a great position. Thank you.
It's our absolute pleasure. So as I say, look forward to getting back live and seeing everyone soon.
Definitely.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that video, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel on the link below and be among the first to get to listen to all the latest interviews through the Downtown Den.